One day on the island of Sodor, Thomas the Tank Engine was pulling Annie and Clarabelle along the main line. He had just stopped at Wellsworth Station when Percy had arrived to collect some trucks. "Hello, Thomas," whistled Percy. "I wish I could pull coaches instead of these trucks." "Well, maybe Sir Topham Hatt will give you coaches like mine," said Thomas. Just then, James puffed into the junction. "Make way for an important engine," wheezed James, "which means you need to move out of the way, dirty Percy." "Don't call me dirty," retorted Percy. "Oh, please," said James. "You two tank engines will never understand the importance of being me." "James, why do you always think of yourself before us?" asked Thomas. "Well, why would I need to think about anybody else?" said James, and with that he left. "Why does James always have to be so rude?" asked Percy. He felt hurt, and so did Thomas. "I don't know," said Thomas, "but we need to teach him a lesson." "Yes," said Percy, "but how?" Thomas looked over at the trucks that Percy was about to take, and he got a naughty idea. "James over there was just talking about how you are all just a bunch of dirty, unimportant pieces of trash," said Thomas. The trucks chattered with each other. "Who's James to say such things? He's lucky enough to pull us. Oh, let's teach him a lesson." James would soon get a run for his money. The very next day, Sir Topham Hatt came into the yards. "I need an engine to take a line of trucks to Knapford Station. Percy, can you please do it?" Now, Thomas had told Percy about his plan the night before, so Percy was going to make James take the train instead of him. "Please, sir," he said, "did James take it instead of me? He told me he wanted to take this line of trucks in particular." Sir Topham Hatt was very surprised, but he agreed. James was very cross. "I never said I wanted to pull that train," cried James, "and now I have to take all those annoying trucks. Thanks a lot, dirty Percy." And he shuffled crossly away to the station. Soon James arrived to collect his trucks. "Hello, James," diddled the trucks. "Ready to learn from those who know? Just shut up and stay out of my way." "Yes, James," diddled the trucks. But eventually, James was coupled up, and they were off. The trucks had made their plan to teach James a lesson for what he had supposedly said. James arrived at Gordon's Hill, and he began to climb. Soon, they reached the top, but James had forgot to put on his brakes. The troublesome truck's chance had come. Go on, they cried, and together the troublesome trucks pushed James down the hill. On, screamed the trucks. Stop pushing me, hissed James. "You're gonna make me..." Poor James had come off the rails. "Bother those trucks," said James. "How dare they push an engine like me off the rails?" Just then, Thomas came along with the breakdown train. "James, are you all right?" he asked, even though he was trying not to laugh. "Yeah, I'm fine," James replied. "Thanks for coming to help me. I'm sorry I was rude to you and Percy." "Well, I forgive you, James," said Thomas, "but you will need to apologize to Percy on your own time." Soon, James was back on the rails and he headed to the sheds. When he arrived that evening, he saw Percy talking with Thomas and he decided that now was a good time to apologize. "I'm sorry for being mean to you, Percy. I shouldn't have been so rude." "That's all right," replied Percy. "We can have an alliance if you want, you, me, and Thomas, helping each other out whenever we need it." "Sounds good to me," said James. "I'm glad you're all happy," said Edward. "But we have a big day of work tomorrow, so let's get some sleep." "Okay, Edward," said the three allies, and together and happy, the three engines went to sleep. One morning, Gordon puffed into the yard to collect his express.
"Good morning, Thomas,"
he said pompously.
"If you don't mind, stop snoozing on the job and go fetch my express coaches."
"And now,"
God, Thomas. I was up all night pulling a night train. So if you don't mind, give me a second. And with that, he left to find Gordon's coaches.
Humph,
Grunted Gordon.
those little Indians need to have more respect for big engines like me.
That night, Sir Topham Hatt came to the sheds. More visitors have been coming to the island of Sodor recently, so I have had to schedule more trains. Unfortunately, that means more night trains. So, I have new and more powerful lamps for all of you to wear. So the driver started to install new lamps on their engines, except for Gordon. He was feeling grouchy and didn't want to wear his lamp.
I cannot wear such a lamp, he said. I need a lamp that is, well, more my type.
So Gordon did not have his lamp installed. The next day, Gordon did all the jobs that he needed to do, but he never wore his lamp like the others. His driver tried to make Gordon wear it, but he would not budge. Soon, Sir Topham Hatt heard about Gordon's behavior. So Gordon won't wear his lamp, eh? Then I will make sure that he does. I will schedule a night train for him to take. After Gordon had finished his last train, his driver came up to him with his lamp. Come on, Gordon, he said. Sir Topham Hatt says you need to wear this lamp for the train you're pulling tonight.
But I don't want to wear that stupid, uncomfortable lamp,
whined Gordon. Really useful engines don't argue, said the driver. So Gordon let him install the lamp. Gordon really didn't want to wear his lamp, so he made a naughty plan. When the conductor blew his whistle, Gordon jerked forward, allowing the lamp to fall off the lamp iron, and it hit the ground with a thud.
Ho, 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 ho. Silly Sir Topham Hatt. Clever me, chortled
Gordon as he puffed away into the night. Gordon was feeling very clever indeed. He was running nicely and making good time. But then there was trouble. Up ahead was a stone that was dark gray and hard to see. It had rolled straight onto the track. Gordon was going at full speed and he had no idea what was ahead. The passengers weren't hurt, but Gordon was regretting not wearing his lamp.
Oh, the indignity, he moaned. What will Sir Topham Hatt say?
He found out soon enough. I am disappointed in you, Gordon. You should know better than to go out in the dark without a lamp.
Yes, sir. I'm sorry, sir.
So now Gordon always wears his lamp, no matter what time of day. It was a beautiful day on the island of Sodor, and all the engines were working hard. Thomas was busy shunting at Natford. Beep, beep, whistled James. Please get my coaches ready, Thomas. I have to leave in 15 minutes. I'm working as hard as I can, James, said Thomas, and he puffed into the yards. Now, there is an old siding that leads to a tunnel in the very back of the shunting yards. Sir Topham Hatt has been meaning to inspect it, but he never got the chance, so, until further notice, no one is allowed in the tunnel. Thomas saw James's coaches by the old sign, but the old siding was rusted and facing the wrong way. By the time Thomas realized what had happened, he was heading straight for the tunnel. Oh no, said Thomas. He applied his brakes, but it was too late. When Thomas opened his eyes,
he saw a small wooden version of himself right in front of him. "Hello," said the wooden Thomas. "My name is Thomas." "But I'm Thomas," said Thomas. He was very confused. "What's going on? Why am I here? Why are you right in front of me?" "Well," said Wooden Railway Thomas, "I was going to collect James's coaches, but I accidentally got sent onto this siding, and then the tunnel started making some zapping sounds, and you appeared right in front of me." "That's strange," said Plarail Thomas, "because I did everything you just said, except I actually went into the tunnel." "Maybe you should go back to your world," said Wooden Railway Thomas. "I wouldn't want the others to know you are here." "Okay, but at least let me explore a little bit." "Fine," said Wooden Railway Thomas, "but try not to be seen." "No problem," said Plarail Thomas, and the two engines left the siding. Thomas soon learned how strange and different the wooden railway world was compared to his. When he wanted to pull some trucks out of his siding, he couldn't. The couplings were magnets instead of hooks, so Thomas was forced to push the trucks instead of pulling. The points didn't switch like in his world, they just forked, and it would cause the trucks to go the wrong way. This was beginning to frustrate Plarail Thomas. He wanted to have fun in this world, but he couldn't. So he came to a decision. "I'm going to go home. I don't belong here." So Thomas headed his way to the interdimensional tunnel. When he arrived, Thomas made sure no one was looking, and he entered the tunnel. Thomas was soon back in his world. He realized that no time had passed when he entered the tunnel. "Well, I guess I'll go get James' coaches," he sighed. But it was not a sigh of reluctance. It was a sigh of relief. The holiday season had arrived to the island of Sodor. More visitors have been arriving, and more packages have needed to be delivered. The engines also had to deal with the snow. It had covered the tracks and weakened the rails. Ice also made the roads and rails very slippery. On Christmas Eve, Gordon was pulling the big express. It was full of passengers going to the mainland for Christmas. Gordon had came to a sharp turn, and the rails dipped into the ground as he puffed over it. The conductor took a look at the tracks. "It doesn't look very safe for big engines like you, Gordon," said the conductor. "I'll have to put up a warning flag." "Humph," grunted Gordon. "Now I'm going to be late." And he was. Only by a few minutes, but still late. Spencer had stopped at the station. He was taking the Duke and Duchess to their holiday home. 3 minutes late," he said. "You're losing your speed, Gordon." "Shut up," said Gordon. "I stopped because there was a dip in the tracks. All the snow and ice is ruining the main line." "You can say that again," said Spencer. "The rails on the mainland are so slippery." "I know," said Gordon. "But anyway, you need to be careful, Spencer." "Oh, I will," said Spencer. "I will do just fine." And with that, Spencer puffed into the snow. Spencer was running nicely along the main line. He had no troubles and was making good time. But soon he saw the flags that Gordon's conductor put up. "I better slow down," said Spencer. But as he tried to slow down, he didn't. The ice was causing him to slide on the rails. "Oh no!" he cried as he came around the bend. But Spencer didn't come off the tracks. "Oh yes!" he cheered.
That's one in the headlamp for you, Winter.
As Spencer chuffed into the distance, he felt proud. But he didn't notice that half of his coal fell out of his tender when he came around the bend. Spencer had just come to Gordon's Hill. He tried to climb, but his wheels spun on the ice, and to make matters worse, he ran out of coal.
Bother,
grumbled Spencer. Sir Topham Hatt was wrapping Christmas presents when he heard the news.
I will send Gordon, he said, and be sure he brings extra coal to melt the ice.
Gordon soon arrived.
Run out of water again? He teased. No, snapped Spencer. I've run out of coal.
I saw a patch of coal along the way, said Gordon's driver. That must have been yours. Gordon and Spencer's firemen shoveled hot coals onto the track, and soon the ice was gone.
Come on, Spencer, said Gordon. Let's get you to your holiday house.
And then they started off. Soon they arrived at the house.
Thanks, Gordon, said Spencer. No problem, replied Gordon. Just think of it as my Christmas present to you.
Spencer chuckled. The Duke and Duchess had a lovely holiday, and so did everybody else on the island of Sodor.
The engines on the island of Sodor love to pull special trains, but they've lately been given to Thomas, leaving the other engines to do his work. One afternoon, Percy was pulling Annie and Clarabelle while Thomas was taking the very important elephant train. "It's not fair," said Percy. "I have to do all of Thomas's jobs while he gets to have fun pulling specials." When he arrived at the final station, Sir Topham Hatt was waiting. "Hello, Percy," he said. "How has your day been?" "Horrible, sir. I have had to pull all the trucks Thomas was supposed to take, and I've had to take his coaches all over the island. I mean, there's nothing wrong with them, but having to pull them and do my jobs has been incredibly tiresome." "I see," said Sir Topham Hatt. "I have received similar responses from the other engines. I think we might be due for a day of some rest and reorientation." "That would be nice, sir," said Percy, and with that he left the station. One morning, several days later, Sir Topham Hatt came to the sheds. "I understand that you all have been very busy, so we will use today to reorganize the yards and plan out future trains." He paused impressively. "But there's a train of vans loaded with gunpowder and explosives that needs to be delivered to the mainland. It's very important and very dangerous. I need an engine to take this special." The engines started chatting with each other. "I hope that Sir Topham Hatt picks me for this special," peeped Thomas. Grunted Gordon. "Why wouldn't he? You've taken the last 30 special trains. Why not make it 31? But to everyone's surprise, Sir Topham Hatt didn't choose Thomas. "Percy, can you please take this special?" "Yes, sir," said Percy, and he puffed out to the station. Thomas was rather annoyed. "Why is Percy taking that train?" Thomas asked. "I wanted to let some other engines have a chance to pull specials." "But I've pulled the most specials on this island, sir," said Thomas. "I have the most experience. Shouldn't I pull it for that reason alone?" "Never mind that, Thomas," said Sir Topham Hatt. "I know Percy can pull the train as well as you can. Besides, I need you to be a Knapford." Thomas was very cross.
Thomas soon arrived at Knapford Station. The station master was waiting. "I need you to take all these foolish freight cars to Vickerstown." Now Thomas was fuming. Not only did he not get to take the special, but he also had a whole line of troublesome trucks to take to the other end of the island. But Thomas soon had his train ready, he was coupled up, and was off. Thomas complained as he puffed down the line. "It's not fair," he said. "I always get to take specials. Why would Sir Topham Hatt use Percy?" But he was so busy complaining that he missed a signal, and up ahead was Percy stopped at a crossing. Thomas came around the bend. "Oh no!" he cried. Thomas applied his brakes, but it was too late. Unfortunately, everyone was hurt. The vans were destroyed, smoke billowed into the air, and 2 small engines were overturned and broken. Thomas felt awful. What will Sir Topham Hatt say, he wondered. He found out sooner than expected.
"Thomas,"
Shouted Sir Topham Hatt.
what were you thinking? The gunpowder and explosives are gone, we are 2 engines down, and this whole area is a mess. You will be severely punished when you return from the works."
Thomas was ashamed. He had never seen Sir Topham Hatt so cross. Thomas and Percy were loaded onto some trucks, and James took him to the works. It was the most silent ride ever. At the steamworks, 2 small engines were being fixed. They were beat up and covered in ash, and they were very cross with each other. "If you hadn't taken the explosives, we wouldn't be here," said the blue one. "Well, if you could control your temper, you could have actually spotted the red signal," said the green one. "I wouldn't have a reason to be cross if I took the special like always." The blue one is Thomas, and the green one is Percy. They should be friends, but after a terrible accident, they would do nothing but argue with each other. The 2 engines were soon fixed and sent to meet Sir Topham Hatt. Sir Topham Hatt told Thomas that he would not be able to leave the sheds for a week, which would leave Percy to do all of his work. So the 2 engines left grumbling. Thomas would be brooding in the sheds, while Percy would puff by with the train. They wouldn't look at each other or speak with each other. They were just too angry with each other. But Thomas was soon let out of the sheds, and he returned to doing jobs on his branch line. This allowed other engines to take specials, while Thomas would be able to be with his 2 coaches again. He would see Percy more often, and every once in a while, one would bring up the accident. But that would only make the tension between the 2 even worse. One day, Sir Topham Hatt came to see Thomas and Percy. "I have a line of heavy stone trucks that needs to be taken to the castle on the old branch line. Can you 2 please do it?" Thomas really didn't want to work with Percy, so he quickly said, "Sir, can I do it by myself? I'm sure I can handle the trucks fine on my own." Sir Topham Hatt was rather surprised, but he agreed. "Just be careful, Thomas. The trucks are very heavy." "Be careful, Thomas," said Percy as Thomas backed onto his train. "The castle is right next to a cliff, and—" "I don't need you to tell me what to do," interrupted Thomas. "I'll be perfectly fine without you pestering me." And with that, Thomas puffed fiercely out of the station. Thomas puffed down the line with the heavy trucks rolling behind him. There was a hill right before the castle grounds, and Thomas began to climb. But what he didn't realize is that the wet leaves had fallen on the other side of the hill. And when Thomas started to come down the other side, he slipped on the leaves and the heavy trucks pushed him down the line. "Whoa!" wailed Thomas as he sped down the tracks. His driver did his best to regain control. Thomas raced through the castle station and crashed through the buffers. "Cinders and ashes!" cried Thomas, his front wheels hung over the edge. "Help me!" The castle keeper quickly telephoned Sir Topham Hatt, and Sir Topham Hatt quickly sent Percy to help. He didn't really want to help Thomas at first, but when he heard that Thomas was set to fall off the cliff at any moment, Percy knew he had to save him. When Percy arrived at the castle, Thomas had been attached to a couple of ropes to make sure that he didn't fall, but he still had to be put back on the tracks, so Percy's driver attached a strong rope to the back of the brake van. "Ready, Thomas?" called Percy. "1, 2, 3. And with that, he pulled with all his might. He pulled and pulled and he pulled, until finally, Thomas was safely put back on the tracks. "Phew!" sighed Thomas. "Thank you, Percy." "If I hadn't arrived sooner," said Percy, "you might have gone over the edge." "Percy," Thomas said, I'm sorry for being angry with you. I shouldn't have taken out my anger on my best friend." "I'm sorry too," replied Percy. "Friends again?" "Friends again." And with that, the two special friends left their stone trucks and headed home.